Test, test. 1, 2, 3. Hello?
Hi, Ray. I'll get Pete for you.
Okay, great. Hey, Pete, how you doing, man?
Not too bad, how are you?
Happy 2013 to you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, the same to you.
I actually met you once. You were performing in Springfield, Virginia, at Jack's. And
that's going back a bit.
Yeah, that was about 2001.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful...
I remember that. Yeah, it was a low turnout, wasn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I think we had a little bit of a chat afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Wonderful show. I really enjoyed that. So what do you got going on nowadays?
Well, I've still got the band going, which is touring, all over the world as we have been doing for many, many years. But at the present moment, I'm into getting right into this, as they call it, technology, the Facebook and everything. So I've got 3 things on the go at the present moment, Ray.
Oh, great.
I've got my own website, which is www.petebest.com.
Right.
And if people go on that, they'll see what the band's doing, what I'm doing, and updates. Oh, it's full of everything. We just want people to go on and visit it.
Sure.
I'm also into the Facebook regime, which is www.facebook.com, Pete Best Official. And I've also gone into the Twitter as well.
Oh, good.
So I'm going to have a chat with the fans. And again, that's www.twitter.com, Beatles Pete Best.
Oh, great. You're going to get a huge response with those media outlets, I think.
It is. I mean, it's new technology.
Yeah.
I've been promising myself that, when I'm not touring, and even when I'm touring, because you've got access to everything now basically in your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll keep everyone up to date, and I'm just enjoying the fact that, it gives, hundreds and thousands of people out there the opportunity to, get in touch with me and have a chat and, just keep themselves up to date with what myself, and the band are doing, which we love to, we love to talk about it to people.
Sure. And I've been on your website. It's a great website, and I saw you had the Casbah Coffee Club, and you actually do tours as well, right?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, on my website, we've also, as you turn around and say, Ray, we've also incorporated the Casbah as well.
Right.
And the Casbah, it's open to tours now. We're open nearly 365 days a year.
Wow.
But the thing is, it's by booking appointment only.
Okay.
It's no good people just landing up. But there's a telephone number there, or telephone numbers, I should turn around and say. Mobile numbers, contact numbers. And if people phone up and make an appointment, then we're only too glad to take them round and, give them the history of the Casbah and the history of Merseybeat and the early years of the Beatles.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm going to have to make a special trip to England now. I've never been to England. My building here, I live in Bradenton, my whole building here are full of Brits. I'm the only American in this building. So I feel like I've already been there,
Well, I was going to say it's home away from home, but I'm not there at the present moment, so give them all my regards anyway.
I sure will. Your mom was quite a visionary, wasn't she? And an entrepreneur.
Oh, she was. Let's be quite honest about it, Ray. I mean, the idea she had, that's how the Casbah, came about. She bet all her money on a horse, Never Say Die.
That's amazing.
Which we didn't know about.
Right.
That horse had a jockey on it, Lester Piggott, who won the Derby in 1954, 1955, I think, if my memory serves me correct. And, from that she bought Hayman's Green, and then she transformed the cellars in Hayman's Green into what the world knows now as the Casbah Club. But that dream that she had, which you're talking about, this visionary dream, being an entrepreneur, she always wanted to bring music to the kids of Liverpool.
Right.
And that's exactly what she did. And of course, as history portrays now, first band was to play there was the Quarrymen, which went on to become the Beatles.
Yeah. What were some of the other bands? Did she have like Jerry and the Pacemakers at the Casbah as well, and some of the other local Liverpool bands?
Oh yeah, nearly every band in Liverpool You know, there was something played there. There was, you know, Jerry and the Pacemakers, King Size Taylor, Searchers. My goodness me, you can go on and on and on.
Yeah, exactly. Billy J. Kramer. Yeah.
You name it, they played there. The Blue Jeans.
Yeah.
Every top band in Liverpool played there in some format. But the good thing about her, Ray, was that she was also very interested in bringing the underbands up. You know, the bands who were just starting to try and make a breakthrough.
Exactly.
And she had a simple rule.
Yep.
And it worked great. You try it out at the Casbah.
Right.
If the crowd liked you, you got another booking. If they didn't, she'd turn around and say, "Go away, my lads.
Yeah.
Practice. You know, the door isn't closed.
Right.
Come back and have another go." And so many bands did that, and she put them on the, you know, on the route to stardom, which was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, we could use her today, you know.
She's still here, Ray, even though she's gone.
Yeah.
You know, God bless her. She went in. When was it? 88.
88. Yeah.
She's still with us. You know, the Casbah is her epitaph. You know, and everyone feels it. Everyone who comes here, the first thing they say is when they walk in is they can, you know, now they realise what we talk about and why we hold Mo so proud.
Yeah,
she was the visionary. You know, we're just carrying the job on for her.
Yep, exactly. There aren't many people like her anymore. I mean, you know, people that come to mind are like Don Kirshner and Dick Clark, and you know, people like that. You know,
of course, yeah. I mean, they were all forerunners, weren't they?
Exactly.
You know, they all had a dream, and they all succeeded in what they did.
Yeah, that's the problem with music today. We don't have those visionaries anymore. You know.
Well, we keep trying. You never know what's behind closed doors at the present moment. Who knows, you know?
Hey, maybe it'll be you, Pete. Come on. We need your help.
I'm trying.
When you had the Blackjacks, John also had a name called the Blackjacks, and didn't he have to change the name because you're already out there? Is that right?
No, it wasn't a case of changing. Yeah, my band was the Blackjacks.
Right.
I think John had run with it, and you know they'd stopped calling themselves the Blackjacks by the time I came along. So there was no problem on sort of, you know, name discussion or anything like that. They, by that time, sort of transferred into, you know, the Moondogs and the Silver Beatles and all the other aliases that we had before we actually shortened it down to become the Beatles with an A, you know.
Yeah.
So there was no problem on that particular side, no.
No problem there, huh? I'm going to ask you some Beatle questions because, of course, there's a lot of Beatle enthusiasts. I'm going to try to ask you some stuff no one's asked before, but that's always tough to do. When I talked to Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull, you know, he's a tough character, and I went totally out of my way to ask him very different questions, and I succeeded. I was always wondered about this when Stuart Sutcliffe was he was attacked by some thugs. What happened that day? Because I think were you and John? Did you guys go to his rescue?
Yeah, I think what you actually see in films like, you know, The Birth of the Beatles and you know, the Backbeat, I think was the other one I was portrayed in.
Right.
They used Littleton Town Hall as where, you know, the assault took place, and it was a venue called Latham Hall, which was down on the Dock Road, and she was beaten up inside the club. You know, as we used to call them in those days, Teddy Boys.
Right.
Stu was the smallest in the band, and they picked on him for some unknown reason when we were backstage.
Huh.
And John and I heard about it, and John and I dashed out, got stuck into it, sorted it out. John broke his finger, you know, so that was something he carried from that particular fight.
Huh.
But we managed to get Stu out without too much damage to him.
Yeah.
And we just went on and did the show. But the funny thing was, Ray, after that, we were accepted, you know, by the Teddy Boys, as we used to call them in those days, at that particular location, because, you know, they turned around and said, "Hey, hang on a moment, it's the Beatles, they can handle themselves." So there was a little bit of respect there, you know, but that just puts the record straight as regards the location.
Right.
And yes, John and I were actually there. We did actually help them.
You did help them out. You and John were probably the closest friends in the group. Is that true, or?
Oh, yeah, without doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, we're friends with everyone. Everyone had their associations.
Right.
But John and I would turn around and say I was closest to John out the band.
Well,
and I hope he felt the same as well. Because we spent a lot of time together in Germany. And in Liverpool, of course, in Germany, we were the last ones propping the bars up. We were the ones getting into trouble. We were the ones who were, having fights. We were the ones trying to rob sailors.
Yeah.
And, that was the mischief we got up to.
Yeah.
But then, when we came back to Liverpool, he was always at my house because the Casbah was open, and after we played, we'd come back and we'd raid the coffee machine and the crisps and the sandwiches and everything, and come up to the living room and put records on and sit there till the early hours of the morning chatting and playing music.
Yep.
So it was very much home away from home,
Yeah. He was good friends with Stuart too, right?
Sorry, what was that, right?
He was good friends with Stuart Sutcliffe as well, right?
He was, yeah.
Yeah. What was John like?
I mean, he was one of those guys which, the more you got to know him,
right?
The more you saw that there was more to this guy than what the public actually see. And if I can use an example of that, Ray, when I was in Germany, as I mentioned before, we used to actually spend a lot of time drinking, and into the early hours in the morning. And what the public saw was a very, how could you turn around and put it, caustic-witted, very defensive type of person. But when I was talking to him, I suddenly realised that, okay, behind this tough guy facade which he had,
yep,
there was a very tender and a very loving person and a brilliant family man.
Yeah. And
when he put those two entities together, and I saw him as a complete, total being, I just turned around and said to myself, that to me is the whole John Lennon.
Right.
And of course, what became, afterwards, I suppose in a way he was a visionary as well as a world leader.
Sure.
Was something which I expected. It didn't come as a surprise when he started leading peace movements and, writing fantastic songs about, peace movements and bringing peace to the world. It just seemed logical for him to do it.
Yeah. So he had that personality at an early age, pretty much, huh?
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
I think it was there.
Yeah.
He was a rough diamond, and over the years, it polished up, and, unfortunately, the stupid death, with that idiot Chapman,
yep,
robbed the world of a great leader.
Yeah. What were your thoughts?
He robbed me of a great friend as well. That's more annoying.
Yeah. What were your thoughts when John was shot on that day? Where were you when that happened?
I was actually getting ready for work, Ray, in Liverpool. By the time with the time difference, by the time it started to come through on the radio over here, it was around about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And I was getting ready for work, and my wife Kathy shouted up. She'd heard it on the radio first, and she said, "Pete, you better come and listen to this. John's been murdered." Well, at that particular moment, Ray, John Lennon was the last person I thought of. I turned around and said, John who? Who are you talking about?
Right.
He said, John who you used to play with in the band.
Mm.
So I came down, and then I suddenly realised within a couple of seconds of listening to the broadcast, it was John Lennon.
Yeah.
And I was mortified. I was absolutely horrified.
Yeah.
And, as you can imagine over here, the media went wild, the same as they did all over the world.
Yeah.
And they tried to get in touch with me. They wanted me to do radio shows, wanted me to do television, give press interviews.
Right.
And I just basically turned around and said, no. I said, look, I know what you're trying to do. I said, but I want to pay my respects to my old friend in the best way I can. And that was just to, stay quiet, keep my feelings to myself, and not make public what I felt. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit. That's the same way I feel. I went to the Lincoln Memorial that day, and we all actually sang "Give Peace a Chance," and we went, we did a lot of those formalities, and I took off that day. It was a big blow to all of us. We grew up with John, and you guys, so. It was tough, and I can't believe George is gone too. It's
I know when you think about it, Ray. This is the incredible thing. The icons of the music business. They always will be. People, generations are discovering them. Year after year, century after century. It seems to be that the music's unearthed, the new generation discovers it, which is absolutely fantastic. It's never happened with anyone else.
Exactly.
But for all that recognition and all that fame there's been a lot of tragedy within that band as well.
There has been.
You know, Stu Sutcliffe from an early age.
Yeah.
You know, who died of a brain hemorrhage when he was only 21.
Yep.
Fine, he'd left the band, but he'd still been a member, right?
Yep.
Brian Epstein, who died at 27, 28.
Yep.
You know, then you got, you know, John, who's murdered, you know, by that idiot Chapman, and then George, who dies, you know, this horrible death cancer.
Yeah.
So, you know, there was a lot of, there has been a lot of tragedy within the band.
Well,
and I think people have got to remember that. It's not being morbid, but it's sometimes, you know, success comes with tragedy.
Yeah, even Paul with Lennon. You know,
it seems to be an evolution. It's the way things go.
Yeah.
But for all of that, you know, whichever way they went out, they all left a mark in the music industry, and that's the incredible thing about it. You know, they'll be remembered whichever way they went. Whatever tragedy prevailed, they'll still be remembered for something they did by themselves. Collectively, excuse me, as the Beatles.
Right.
But also individually as people as well, and that's the incredible thing.
Yeah, I think you were the more stable life, really, because you know you've been married now for over 40-some years, right?
I think it's a case. I mean, you know, I had a learning curve which I went through very early on.
Yeah.
You know, that came from a stable background, a tough backbone.
Yep.
And it's very much a case. You know, if people knock you down, then you get up and you try twice as hard. And I think. What happened to me, Ray, at an early age, you know, which is something which most probably would never happen to anyone else. You know, the fact of being dismissed from the Beatles on the brink of, you know, them becoming, you know, the icons of the music industry. But that, for what you can call it, that mishap, okay, I think that's the best word, you know, best way to explain it.
Right.
That mishap, I suppose, you know, woke me up. It made me a little bit more, you know, streetwise.
Yep.
It stabled me out, and it was very much a case of, okay, well, there's more to life.
Exactly.
You know, you suddenly realise there's more to life than just being a rock and roll, you know, star. And I think once you get that, and I think that was because I had family around me and, you know, the stable character, you could overcome this. And there comes a, you know, period in time, as I've said many, many times over many, many years, there is a period in time when it's like, well, what is the hell about reflecting and thinking about what happened, you know, that particular day in 1962. There's more to life. And when you accept that, you realise that, you know, it's not about what happened yesterday, it's very much about today and tomorrow. You know, and my karma's been that, you know, I've led my life, I've, you know, been recognised, you know, in my own sweet way for, you know, my contribution to the music industry. My band's got recognised for their own contribution.
Yep.
I'm a great family man.
Yeah, exactly.
You forget that with the whole this entourage which is going round of appearances and Twitter and PeteBest.com and Facebook.
Sure.
At the end of it all, you know, when I get home, I'm a family man.
Exactly.
You know, I'm married to a Liverpool girl, Kathy, who, you know, will make 50 years.
Yep.
You know, next year will be 50. Well, in fact, this year makes 50 years to be married to her.
Don't get in trouble now, Pete.
I won't. And, you know, 2 beautiful daughters and 4 wonderful grandchildren, which I idolise and spoil.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
I always said it and I always will. That's me.
That's what it's all about.
I'm a great family man, so I enjoy meeting friends. I enjoy talking to people on Twitter, Facebook, PeteBest.com. All the technology, right? I like meeting people face to face when we're touring. But at the end of the day, I come back home again.
Exactly.
That's what I enjoy as well.
And that's what it's all about. It really is. I know we got about 8 or 9 more minutes, I guess, before the interview. A couple more questions. When they did ask you to leave the Beatles, did Brian Epstein actually offer you another band, or did that really happen?
Yeah, that was the funny thing. Not initially. I mean, on that, you know, day in August '62 when I was called in, he just basically turned around and said, you know, they want you out and Ringo's in.
Right.
And it was already sort of, you know, pre-arranged that Ringo was going to be in the band on the Saturday. That was already arranged. But a couple of weeks afterwards, while I was still, I'd had offers from different bands, and I was still thinking it over. And I had a phone call from Brian Epstein, and he basically turned around and said, Pete, I'd like to see you in the office again. I've got something I want to chat over with you. And I thought, oh my goodness me, you know, maybe there's been a change of heart, maybe they're going to bring me back again.
Right.
So I dashed off down there, I got there, and he was very cordial, very polite, like he normally was.
Mm-hmm.
And then he turned around and he said, I'm not bringing you back into the band. So he said, just in case you got that on your mind. So I said, okay, well, that clears that particular subject up straight away. He said, but I'm very interested in a young band called the Mersey Beats, which I want you to become the drummer in. I want you to take charge of them. Mm-hmm. And I want you to turn them into a second Beatles so that I can manage them.
Right.
And I turned around and said, Brian, the thought is absolutely wonderful that you've got that much faith in me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I said, but once I've been with the number one, on the number one horse, in the number one stable, it's going to be very difficult for me to work with you again.
Right.
As part of another band.
Right.
So I thank you very much for the offer. And I went away and I joined a band which was Lee Curtis and the All-Stars, which was another up-and-coming band in Liverpool at that time. Mm-hmm. And I took them to being number 2 behind the Beatles and the Mersey Beat Paul.
So do you regret not taking his offer, or not really?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I think the Mersey Beats. When I talked to Billy Kinsey, many years afterwards, I think they were disappointed the fact that I hadn't come on board.
Yeah.
Because he's always admired me as a musician, a person, and as a drummer. But as I explained to him, I said, Billy, at that particular moment in time, it didn't seem the right thing to do.
Right.
It wouldn't have set easy with me. And he said, Pete, I accept that.
Yeah.
He said, but it would have been nice for you to be part of the team.
Right.
It wasn't meant to be. They'd gone on to be a fantastic band anyway.
Yeah, they did. They
absolutely brilliant. Billy is still one of the best musicians in Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly.
He goes without saying. In fact, he's one of the most undersung musicians in Liverpool.
Yeah.
He's absolutely brilliant.
Great band.
I'm glad that I can turn around and say he's still my friend. He's still around. We still enjoy a pint together, and we still enjoy a good laugh about the old days.
Good. That's excellent. Here's a funny question. Ringo and his all-star band. I just covered Ringo recently. He was in Clearwater. He looked great, by the way, for his age. He was running around stage. He's keeping real thin and everything. If he ever asked you to join his all-star band to play drums, would you ever do it?
That's a question and a half, isn't it? No, I'll turn that round on you. Okay. I mean, if I ever see Ringo,
right,
then maybe I'd ask him,
yeah,
would he play second drums in my band, the Big Best Band?
That would be cool, too. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, see what we come to,
Yeah, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see. Why not? I mean, it's been so many years,
Ray, we laugh and joke about these things now. God knows what's around the corner for us.
Exactly.
And there's been so many things which happen.
Yeah.
Which are unexpected. I always turn around and say, if it's going to happen, it'll happen.
Exactly.
Regardless of what you do, what you don't do.
Right.
If it's meant to be there, if it's meant to happen, it's going to happen anyway.
That's true. Well, Pete, I think you've had a wonderful life, and there's always been that debate about you and Ringo, and I've always heard you were the better drummer over Ringo. That's what I've always heard. I think the press kind of twists things around, as time goes on, but and I always thought you were the guy that looked like the movie star in the band. Maybe they were a little jealous because you belonged in Hollywood, honestly.
Well, the thing is, a lot of years have passed since then. I think I'd settled up for the old grizzly bear now, with the snow on the roof and, the white moustache. So, but I'm still in there. I'm still hanging around.
Yeah.
I still want people to get onto, the website, Facebook and Twitter.
We'll do that.
And, just keep in contact with us.
We sure will.
We enjoy it. And, maybe one of these, great days I'll be back on that side of the pond again touring and, I'll bump into these people again.
Okay, Pete. Yeah. Pete, please come down to Florida. If not, while touring, maybe get a second home down here and be a snowbird.
It won't be for the sake of trying. It won't be for the sake of trying.
Pete, thank you so much for being on the call today, man. I really, really appreciate it, okay?
Thanks, Ray, a million for the time. Okay.
All right, cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.